It's time to get a macro perspective on what else is happening around us in the world. It's time for World Deconstructed, where we pivot to Denmark this morning. The country is taking back control of digital identity, rolling out bold new regulations to personal data back in the hands of, well, its rightful owner, its citizens. For more, we're joined by David Tizzard. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Lena. Yes, and as yesterday we did tobacco and alcohol advertising in the metaverse, or more specifically the Roblox digital ecosystem. And today we're doing about new Danish laws that affect our rights online. I think we could probably call it, for the last couple of days at least, the digital world deconstructed.
Digital world deconstructed. And you should pay attention because most of us do have a digital presence. If you upload your own pictures, you share your 2 cents every day, that is all part of your digital intellectual property. Now, how much is it protected in the age of AI, where AI feeds off of lots of data that we put out there? It becomes murky waters. Would you want to see your image, your voice taken apart and put together with someone else's to create other original work? Do I get credit for that?
That's a very interesting question. I've noticed that if you ask, I've said this before, I believe, but if you ask ChatGPT to write a column in the style of David Tizzard, it does it exactly. Because I've been writing for so many years every week in the newspaper that it's got all that data and it can just almost recreate me. It uses far too many M dashes and things. It's not quite right, but it's pretty close. Now, what Denmark have done, they have just redefined what it means to own your own identity in the age of AI. They're going to be passing the first law in Europe to give citizens full control over their face, their voice, and their body. So for the first time ever online, your image is now legally your intellectual property. So whether it's your smile used in a political smear campaign, your voice cloned to do various things, or your body pasted into explicit content, now in Denmark, and they're setting the trend, you're finally going to have the chance to fight back. What I found interesting about this story, because I was curious, why have we not had this before? Why has my body, my face, my voice not been mine? And one of the answers to this is that intellectual property law is generally focused on creative things that you produce, such as a song, a book, a painting. And that's why when uploading things to YouTube, you get all of these things like you have to take that down. That's not your music. You're not allowed to use that footage. And so it's really protective over those things. But previously, your face, your voice, your body, these weren't considered creations in the legal sense. They belong to you, yes, but they weren't owned by you as property. And so this is one of the big changes we're seeing now.
And even if you just keep up with regular TV or YouTube creations, you notice that there is a shift in trend. Now, some YouTubers will blur out people in the background out of courtesy or maybe to protect them. And I think that is relatively new in the context of maybe a little over a decade of YouTube's history. Can we also go over why Denmark is inclined to take the lead? It's not a coincidence. They're after something. Maybe they want to represent a larger conversation in Europe, the world, take the lead.
Yeah, YouTube has also changed in the fact that when you upload things, you now have to confirm whether or not there is digitally altered content in your material that you're uploading. So there's all these checks and balances. So you can't really lie anymore. Why is Denmark changing the world? That's a really good question. Denmark is preparing to lead the EU presidency. And as it takes the mantle of that, it's sending a clear message that digital identity, this is the new frontier of civil rights. The Scandinavian countries, and Denmark included in that, believe they've come a long way in gender rights, in rights of multiculturalism and these aspects. And now what they're looking to try to do, they're looking to do it online as well. And other nations are watching this, because if in Denmark the law works, if it's upheld well, we can probably expect a wave of similar legislation across all of Europe. Because, you know, AI deepfakes, they can be funny at first. You know, you can see the Pope wearing one of those
puffer jackets.
The puffer jackets, yeah. And I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but there's loads of photos I see online of Kanye West like eating ramen and going to get all of these kind of things. And it's kind of jarring and funny and humorous because of how dichotomous, of how absurd all of these things are. But at the same time, these AI digital recreations have been used to scam companies out of millions, fake political speeches, harass and blackmail people, damage reputations. And so it's really about trust, and it's allowing people the rights to own representations of themselves online.
You know what I'm getting a kick out of, David? These animals doing all kinds of human chores. It's an AI created set of videos. Do you not get those in your algorithms? I do. Clearly, I'm clicking on something. And you see a hamster doing cooking ramyeon, you see a beagle cleaning your house. And I thought that's really cute. And it's very obviously AI generated. I mean, there's just no way that's feasible. But part of me thought, wait, would I appreciate that if they, without my consent, took my own dog's picture and created that? And my short answer is, I'd feel a little bit uncomfortable.
It's really funny. Maybe this is also part of your subconscious vicarious wish fulfillment. You would hope that Bagel would get up and clean up some of his hair, maybe, or something like that. But I will look out for that. I've not come across that. And that's what I find so fascinating about the internet, that the internet was meant to give us the whole wide world, but it really just gives us our own interests mirrored back at me. And I ask my students sometimes when they're going in parts of discussion, would you show the people you're talking to here your YouTube front page? And they look at me with disgust and say, Dad, no, it's very private to me. I don't want them to know what I watch. And it feels a bit like that. I think it's important to say that as we go online, this proposed law in Denmark, it enjoys overwhelming success across the Danish parliament. So it's likely to pass. It's not just coming from one political party and likely to be blocked by the opposition party, but it's there supported by the majority of the Danish politicians, and it's likely to go through. One particular thing that I thought was interesting is that it still makes room for freedom of expression. And this means that parody and satire, they have to be allowed, I think, because we've grown up being able to speak back to power. And certainly in a European tradition, we speak back to power sometimes by mocking our leaders, mocking our kings. And queens. We've spoken many times about laws in Thailand, where the law de majeste, if you say something about the royal family, you can find yourself in prison. So I think that's really important that Denmark is trying to allow this to still take place. We can't have, comedy shut down, because I think it's a very useful tool in a democratic society. So that's one of the things that they're still trying to maintain with this new law.
David, I am really curious what that would look like in written legislation, because that sounds like a tricky wording. IP belongs to the rightful citizens. It belongs to you and me, but comedy allowed. To what extent? How do you put that in writing? I'll be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the personalities of the people involved, because if it's done with good intentions, and if you are a person of power and influence, you have to take the good and the bad. And if you want the praise, and if you want the op-eds that laud you and heap lavish praise, then you do have to take the rough with the smooth. Yeah, I believe so. And as long as people are aware of that, that's important. The culture minister in Denmark, he came out and he's said that these are human rights rewritten for 2025. And under these new laws in Denmark, citizens are granted three powerful rights. The first one will be the right to demand takedown of any AI-generated content using their likeness. The second one is right to compensation. So if the content causes them harm, you'll be able to do that. And then the right to hold platforms accountable if they host and fail to remove this. So this goes across all things, and the law, it will have teeth. So any platforms that fail to comply with this, they'll be looking at severe fines and regulations, and the individuals they can expect fines and possible prison sentences as well. So it will have teeth. I'm thinking now with the and I do hesitate to use the band's name this early in the morning, the Coldplay concert with the couple, because they got memed out of existence for about the past week, didn't they? And if that was taking place in Denmark, when this law passes, this would be an entirely different conversation, because just to repost the picture is one thing, but to digitally alter it and make memes from it, that's something else now.
David, deepfakes has a potential to affect everyone, but we know that right now out, it is not leveled. It is not distributed equally. It does hurt, I think, one gender more than the other, at least according to statistics.
Yeah, because deepfakes have women, especially public figures, especially influencers. They've borne the brunt, and forgive how heavy this is, the brunt of malicious deepfake porn and identity-based harassment. So this is a whole new genre of things that we simply didn't have before, that now people can recreate things. You can superimpose faces onto other things. And there's this whole new industry of which I don't have much information, but I do know it exists, that you can recreate celebrities doing outrageous things, indecent things, and so that is going to give women the power to reclaim their image and dignity more broadly. I'll just say very quickly before I finish that France and the UK are also trying to update their own laws in this, but they're really more focused on these kind of pornographic deep fakes, those of a sexual content, whereas Denmark has gone out and said it doesn't matter if it's sexual or not, although the punishments for those are bigger. You own your face, your body, and your voice. Imagine that in 2025.
Denmark just redefining what it means to really own your identity in the age of quickly altering AI. David, thank you so much for your insights. We'll speak to you again tomorrow.
Thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.